I made $500 with just one single setup trading the boom and crash. The good thing about this is I only started with $100, and you can see that the account has now gone back to its initial deposit of $100. Now I am going to show you how you can actually replicate the same thing that I did. The derivative synthetic indices market is open 24/7, including every Saturday and Sunday. Now that the Nasdaq market is closed, we don't have weekend withdrawals from Nasdaq. But we should withdraw. Now, before I explain this simple analysis that I had, it's actually really simple, guys. I only used 2 lines. Can you believe that? I just want to let you guys know that I am finally opening up 10 spots for my CTG Elite, which is the most in-depth one-on-one mentorship program designed to turn you into a profitable trader. Now, this is a 6 weeks program, so it means I'm going to be very hands-on, one-on-one, and this is going to be at all times. So I am simply talking to those that are struggling to turn profitable and also are very serious. Those of you who are actually ready and committed to put in the work, those that are ready to put in the work, make sure you click on the link in the description right below and apply for your spot, because we're about to have a really lit 2025. You can see that the main line that I used for this setup was simply a trend line. Look at how the market has been respecting this trend line throughout to the position where I eventually entered my trade. Now, going over onto the 4-hour time frame, let me explain the entry point, right? So this is very simple. You see a trend line, you see the market respecting that trend line. The only thing that's left is to find a good entry point. I found my entry point right on the 4-hour time frame. Closed off one position so that it does not spike against me, because I am ready to take out my trades. And let's just switch on the trading history so that you can see exactly at what point did I enter this trade, right? So it was a sniper entry. I had 0 drawdown on this particular trade. I simply waited for the sellers to lose momentum at this point. Then the bulls stepped into this market. After I saw the 4-hour candle closing bullish, I immediately knew that these buyers are stepping into this market. All of this was happening at a major trend line on the daily time frame. I just took in my trade. Now we're taking profit. You can see just from $100, we had simply 2 trades at a deposit of $100, and then only 2 trades that I had right over there. The initial trade having $300, and then the one I added, and then the total balance is $570 with just 2 trend lines. So you know what I want to do? Ooh, that looks nice. That looks nice. So you know what I want to do? Weekends are for withdrawals. Nasdaq was playing around. Ended up closing Nasdaq at break even. So we don't have any withdrawals from the Nasdaq, but weekends are for withdrawals. So it's something that should be done. So you can clearly see that in my account that is swap free, I do have $500. We're going to just take out our profit and leave the initial balance of $100, because we might end up seeing another good setup that will capitalize on. So you can see that's it. The withdrawal is reflecting right over here. That's correct. And then our initial balance is now back to $100. We might want to just flip out this account again. Let's just actually withdraw this out of the wallet. And 10 minutes later, that was actually really fast. As you can see, the withdrawal is successful. Now, what you just saw was our Saturday trade. And you already know that it's compulsory to have withdrawals on the weekend, because that's what we are all about. We said that we trade during the week and weekends are for withdrawals. So we have to make sure that the withdrawal has to come. Even if it does not come from Nasdaq, we'll still end up with a withdrawal. It's a beautiful Sunday, and we saw the stock market going crazy last week. It was really bad for the buyers because the market just dipped from the moment the market opened on Monday. It just dropped right back down. So Nasdaq did really give me a headache last week, because we are always trying to buy going on with the overall trend. But then you know that when we're having retracements like these ones, because at the end of the day, the buyers will never just buy and keep pushing up to the top. So the days we do have retracements like these ones are always bad for those people that are trend followers, if they don't spot the retracement on time. So you can clearly see that that is what was happening on the Nasdaq for last week. Also on US30, I am believing that after this whole push to the upside, you can see the whole impulsive move last week, the market decided to drop right back down to retest, you know, these breakouts that it had. Now, one thing I would want to note is you can see right over here, the first 3 days were actually just indecision days. And then on Thursday and Friday, that's when the market decided to dip down. You can see that on the daily time frame, we do have indecision candles. So it was really hectic to try and trade on these days where the market was just moving in a little range, up and down, up and down. It was not giving us the type of moves we would have wanted to see. It only then eventually moved on a Thursday. You can see that this is the whole week where the market was just ranging like this. This is the whole week, literally. So this was Monday right over here. This was Tuesday. This was Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday. The market actually then chose a direction, which was the selling direction, and then it dipped right down. And currently we are looking at this market. Now, I do know that my last video was us taking a loss, but then we obviously recovered from that loss. I just do that so that you see that trading, that's the reality of it. You don't just take profits back to back, back to back. And I've seen a lot of these comments where a lot of people are talking about, oh, thank you for showing losses, thank you for showing losses. It's actually really normal. I don't ever think that there's a person that would think that you don't take losses in trading. Even the biggest banks and all of those other people do take losses. So even if anyone doesn't show you losses, it really doesn't matter. Maybe it's just their content, but then losses are normal. It's part of the game. So even when I show a loss, it's not even a big deal, because I understand that you are traders that do even understand the fact that losses are also part of the game. It would be very abnormal if you don't take losses. Now we're going to dive into how we ended up recovering this loss. It was actually really simple, and I could have put that in the last video. When I uploaded that video, we had already recovered that loss. So from that previous video, you've seen that the market took me out prematurely. It hit my stop loss right at the point where it hit my stop loss. It turned right to go up to the top. So we wanted to mark up that point as a point of interest that I would want to look out for in case the market would want to come back and retest it, and then obviously mark up the next level that it had taken out and the highs that it had formed. Now, if you see a setup like this, this is exactly how you would want to probably go about it. So obviously at these highs, we can see that there's money resting at that level. So when I say that money is resting at a certain zone, it doesn't mean that this is money for us traders to go and take. It means that that is money that is drawing the market towards it. It's acting as a magnet so that it comes and takes out all of the people that are having pending orders at that level, wipe out their stop losses, and then eventually decide the direction that it wants to move to. So for the fact that I knew that, I already knew that the market wants to go up to the top, but I did not have an entry point. That's why we had to just wait for it. Now for the entry point, I would probably attempt to go in twice if the market breaks out and gives us a retest, and then if it does end up going to the lows that I have. So I'll take out my long position right over here and a good stop loss considering this level right over there. And I can't enter the trade right now because the stop loss would be insane, because I know that the market should sweep out those levels, but I don't know if it's going to do that right now. There's a chance that it might drop back down. I would never use that mindset that, okay, it's supposed to sweep out these levels, so I should enter into the market right now, right? And I also can't come and put my stop loss in this zone here because these levels can be retested. Stop loss should be put at a spot that if the market comes to that level, then it means my setup was wrong. What I can do is to pull out a little trend line at this level right over here to guide me with my stop loss. And then what I'm saying is you should listen careful here, because look, if we put our stop loss below this level, right, we do have this level right over here that has not yet been retested. The market might want to come into this level and then take us out, right? So we have to put our stop loss right after it. So in this case, what we can do is to reduce our entry point to probably this level. And as sure as anything, you can clearly see that the market did go up to that top part and dropped right back down, and triggering all of the limits that I had at this level, and then eventually dropping right into that level that I did speak about. Remember, I said that it would want to retest this zone right over here. So it means that our entries were a little early, but then imagine all of those that actually bought at that trend line that I drew have been taken out right now if their stop losses were inside. And after a few moments, buyers were stepping into the market. You can see that we took advantage of all of that. At the spot, I had a lot of trades, so I had to close the initial trades that I had at break even, and then did end up having two more added trades, which you can see that the market eventually that kept shooting up to the top. Even the inner circle was in with me on this trade. One of the decent trades that we had for this current week, especially on Nasdaq, right? Nasdaq was going crazy with us. As you can see right now, it's trying to really go and sweep out these levels. It tried the first time, it failed. Now it's going back for the second time. It's going to sweep them out. At this point, I was having more confidence that the market would eventually go. Yes, sir, you can clearly see that the market did eventually do that. We put our stop loss in profit. That's $900. What a great comeback we had right over here. The stop loss was in profit, and we're up plus 170 points on each trade. That's exactly how we recovered on this particular day from that previous loss. And now, before we dive right into the weekly analysis, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We trade the Nasdaq over here. If you're returning, welcome back. You already know what's up. Don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Right now, onto these charts. And I know the market was selling, it was pretty excited, you can clearly see the drop. But if you've been watching most of my videos, you would have literally caught this drop that we had eventually here. Even though you would have been struggling to take the buys at these levels and the market was not buying, this sell after it broke out of this level and then, you know, closed outside of it, you would have literally rode it down to probably this next level that we're targeting. Ooh, Nasdaq really disrespected each and every level that would have, right? On a normal day, I would think that it would come and stop probably at this level because it was a previous high that was broken out of. It did not. It actually just broke out of it, dropped right back. So we probably think that the next target that is actually going for would be this level right over here. Now let's not go ahead of ourselves and look at what the daily time frame is saying. You know that we are trying to do technical analysis here. We had JP speaking on Friday or Thursday, one of those days, and he did all try to mention the fact that the rate cuts in 2025 are not going to be as fast as the stock market would want it to be. That is probably what it is actually reacting to right now. But from a technical point of view, you can already analyze this at this point. We can already see that the market is still kind of following the trend, but then for now we don't really have a setup at all, especially on the Nasdaq. The market does have to first get to specific points before we actually think of entering or doing anything. Now, as you can see, the spot where I highlighted here was a previous zone that it broke out of and retested quite sometimes. You can see this level right over here. It was broken out of, retested, broken out of, retested, again retested. Currently, I don't know if it will come and retest it for the second time. This is the zone that we'll probably be looking at, and at this level we can also use a little trend line to guide us, so it will look something like this. So it's actually really simple if you then see the market breaking out of these levels. So what I would suggest for this current week is, instead of how we traded for the last week, let's actually look for the higher time frames confirmation, right? You want to wait, let the market come to us, especially on the 4-hour time frame. Let's see good price action here. If we do see good price action on the 4-hour time frame right at this level, then we might think of, yeah, it would probably want to go in, and then would have a stop losses somewhere at this zone instead of wanting to rush into the trade as soon as it taps on, because it might keep dropping and going back to the bottom. Then we want to assume that it breaks out of this trend line, right? We're not going to consider that as a break yet before we see good confirmation. We'd also want it to break out of this level, because remember, a trend line alone cannot tell us this little line. It has to be a little zone, so it might want to come and retest within this zone right over here. But if we now see it breaking out of these levels, then we're going to be out of the trade. That will probably want to indicate a change of trend if the market then eventually starts breaking out of here, because if it eventually breaks out of this level also, there's nothing that will be holding this market. It would have to come to this zone, and then if it comes to the zone, it's no longer a healthy trend. That would be a whole different story. We would be looking at the market coming to these levels right over here like this. We would be looking at the market coming to the zone and then now having to wait for, you know, good price action also. And mind you, this is on the daily time frame, so this movement would be a really big movement for, you know, Nasdaq to make in just a week. So we are going to be exercising a lot of patience when it comes to trading Nasdaq. Let's wait for it to get to our specific points that I did highlight, and then if it does go up to the top, I mean, that is really simple. From the previous videos, you already know how to target those markets. You want to wait for the breakouts and all of that other good stuff. Let's just look at US30. We would want to probably consider it if it sits at the zone, right? You can see that it had a high, it broke out of it, it looks like it's coming to retest the high. So if it ends up closing, if it ends up opening, giving us good price action at this particular level, we see the buyer stepping in, probably would take advantage of this little trend. But then overall, if it does not, it does come to these levels, want to break out, you'd want to use this trend line. It should respect this trend because it's a trend. If it breaks out of it, then it is disrespecting it. You have to wait for another analysis and a good setup. And then going over to gold right over here, let me see. I do have a lot of lines on these charts. Gold does not look complicated at all. As you can see, we are at a trend line. So I had a little trend line already drawn on gold and a point of interest. If it eventually disrespects this point of interest, there's a high chance that it's going to come and respect this line right over here. So you don't want to risk a lot here, because you can see that the trend line has been disrespected at this level. Gold might end up just respecting this little trend that it's forming currently and then keep dropping down to this level like this. In this area, yes, you want to look for good buying signals, but then you don't want to risk a lot. That would be your first attempt if you're going to go long on gold. So personally, I would probably wait for the market to come into the trend line again, or to actually drop out of this zone and then probably look for it as it comes to these levels, right? Or if we drop on a lower time frame, we can see that we do have a little trend that it is forming also like this. So you'd want to take out your trend line like something like this right over here. you want to pull out your trend line, something like this, and then use this as a guide. You already know how to trade trend lines. You wait for it to come to this level. If it does, there's going to be a rejection probably, and then it will drop out of go back to the zone. And then if it breaks out of it, you want to wait for it to break out of these zones for you to end up looking for buying positions and then ride it up to the top. Market does look decent. I mean, if you're just patient enough with it, wait for your setups to complete, then we're gonna have a really good week, unlike one that we had on Nasdaq for last week. But if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button, turn on your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. You feel me? With that, it's been Tino, and I'll see you in the next lit video. Peace.